Welcome to Thrive Vision with your host, Dr. Stephanie Ballman.
Hey guys, hello. I am Dr. B, and I wanted to welcome you to our very first episode of Thrive Vision, where we're going to cover all things holistic. This is something I've been wanting to do for years and years. I've had this set up. Sarah and I just had to get things together. And y'all, Sarah is a huge part of this team. So a big round of applause to her for helping me with this and just being the awesome person that she is. I could not do what I do without her. So I'm very thankful for her. But let's get this party started, man. So today on the subject of Make America Healthy Again, we're going to be talking about food dyes. And I want to just take a couple of minutes because yesterday RFK was confirmed, and that is so exciting for the future health of Americans and really of the world. So I wore my Make America Healthy Again hat. And then last month, my dad and I were in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration. So I'm wearing my inauguration sweatshirt. It's the first time I've worn it. And y'all, I'm just so excited about today. So this is awesome. And we're really excited to be getting things going here. So what we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to be talking all things holistic. And today we're going to specifically be talking about food dyes. And where we're going to be starting is actually with red dye number 3. And we all know very recently that it's been banned, but I was listening to a TED Talk by a lady named Dr. Rachel Bevan. And if y'all have not listened to it, I encourage you to do so because it's really amazing to listen to and listen to her story. And I'll just kind of go through it very quickly. She has a 7-year-old son at the time she was telling the story. And he was showing all different kinds of symptomatology. So he had behavioral issues. He was thinking of suicide. Y'all, as a 7-year-old, that is huge, right? 7-year-olds don't need to be thinking about suicide. He was aggressive. And he was just a miserable 7-year-old. We don't want miserable 7-year-olds. So she gets up and she starts telling her story. And what she really starts looking into is that there's an issue when he has food dyes, right? So she took it on herself, right? She took it into her own hands to start looking into this stuff. And the first thing that she did is she started cutting out red food dyes from his diet. And then she moved from there, right? She took out the reds, then the yellows, and he was still having problems. So then what they did is they cut all food dyes from his diet. And occasionally they would, let him have this or that because he was out with friends or whatever. And so, it led to, like I said, it really led to them taking out all of the food dyes, because then that took out all of the problems that were still persisting. And after she did this, he really became this kind of like this brand new kid, right? This kid that she knew was there from the very beginning. But she started not to see because what was happening, right? He wasn't connected to the light anymore. He wasn't connected. His body started changing, and she began to see this in her son. And what we were seeing, or you and I would be seeing, right, would be the symptomatology of behavioral issues, all kinds of things. And so he became kind of this brand new kid. And then she started sharing her story. And I really encourage you to start looking up food dyes. If you don't know about them, we are here to help educate you about that, but also go listen to her story. Listen to the stories of other people who have had success removing food dyes and what it did, maybe not only for their life, but the lives of their children, the life of their family. And we'll get into this in a little bit later portion of the episode, but also for your pets, right? And like I said, we're going to talk about that more later. And y'all, it's a super inspiring story. So go watch it. I really encourage you. Again, her name is Dr. Rebecca Bevan. So go watch it. It is a quick TED Talk that you can watch and listen to. So what is interesting about food dyes? What is interesting about food dyes? There's lots of interesting things about them. I think one of the most interesting things I see is that they have similar frequencies. And the way that we can think about this is through a color spectrum. So we know that red has a similar frequency to yellow. The frequencies are slightly different, right? But they share similarities. And so keep that in mind as we're walking through what these different dyes do and the symptomatology of them, is because these frequencies that they share are going to show up again and again, and we can expect similar reactions from that. We're also, I want you guys to also focus on that food dyes are everywhere, right? They're in textiles, they're in foods, they're in cosmetics, they're in medications, they're in vaccines. Y'all, they're even in pet food and also pet treats. So it runs the gamut of where we can see food dyes, and it's no wonder that it has such a huge impact on our lives, because it literally is everywhere. So the clothes that you wear, the things that you put on your skin, what you put into your body, this all is going to have a huge impact on your health. And I think this is worth looking into, right? What has made this hard to avoid is partly big food, big ag, right? Is they use the food dyes to color the food, to make it very interesting looking. And because of this, children most often are going to be really drawn to these really brightly colored things, and that can be very detrimental. So the first one that I want to talk about actually is red dye 3, and most recently that is the one that was banned in the past, 3 or 4 weeks. I think red 3 was the one that was banned, which is huge. This is a great start, but it's not the only one. And red 3 isn't really the worst one that needs to go. But it is a great start, which is amazing. And so we've kind of put our foot through the door here, right? We're taking that first big step. And as you take these big steps, sometimes, actually what I find most often is once you step forward, you have to keep stepping forward and keep stepping forward. So it's really important where we've started and that we keep going. So red 3 is the first one banned. Okay, so keep in mind that companies have until 2027 before it has to be out of products. And I think this is important to mention because we get excited and then we kind of stop thinking about it. Like, yeah, it's going away. So don't forget, as you're buying foods, as you're buying different things at the stores, check the ingredients, check the label, right? It takes literally just a couple of minutes to look through and look on the back of that product and see, does it still have red 3 in it? Does it have red 4? Does it have yellow whatever, right? Does it have the blues? Look at those things and then use discernment on whether or not that is something that you need to purchase and put into your basket and then take home and consume for yourself or have your family consume it. So be watching those food labels. Okay, so let's go through some of the things about red 3. First of all, it's synthetic, okay? And a lot of synthetic things, actually most synthetic things are going to come from petroleum. And for those of y'all that don't know what petroleum is, it's oil-based, not like olive oil-based, not coconut oil-based, but crude oil-based. And the body does not recognize synthetic things. In fact, it causes a lot of trouble with the physiology or the inner workings of the body, and then it doesn't work as well as it could. So we want to keep synthetic things out in general, and some of those synthetic things are going to be the food dyes, red 3 being one of them. So what can red 3 cause? All right, these are some of the symptomatology that we can see. It can cause thyroid tumors, chromosomal damage, cancer, allergic reactions, GI problems. And when we think GI problems, don't just think tummy upset. Right? We could have heartburn. We could have diarrhea or constipation or back and forth. We could even have, this is going to go into some neurologic activity, which we do see with red 3, which would be hyperactivity, ADHD. We could even potentially see maybe like aggression or depression. Part of the reason of that is because of the cells that are through the GI tract. They are the same cells that are in the brain. When the body is being formed, they come from the same place. And then as further development goes along, those cells separate. And part of them stays in the GI tract. And then some of them go and make up what becomes your brain. So a lot of times when we get that gut feeling, that's for a reason. That's a very important thing to know. So when we're messing up the GI tract, we're also impacting the brain. And that's through a lot of different ways. One, the cells, right? But that can also cause inflammation because we're inflaming in the tummy through the GI area, and then we're also inflaming the brain. And not just the brain, but we need to look at the other neurological impacts through the nerves, the spinal cord, and then that has a huge impact as it moves throughout the body and talks to every single major organ, gland, tissue, cell, right? The body operates based upon what the nervous system is telling it to do or not telling it to do. So again, I think I've made this point several times, and I think you guys are getting it, but it's hugely important that we be paying attention and using discernment about what we are putting into our bodies. So GI problems, the neurological impacts, like I said, ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity. We can also see organ damage, specifically the kidneys with red dye 3. And then we can also have some immune suppression, which when the immune system, which is really your whole body, isn't functioning well, then we can't respond to our environment well, right? And that's a lot of times why I like to call it a healing crisis. A lot of other people, you'll hear that they get sick. And so that's why, is because there's a toxic overload and the toxins need to come down. So if you have a child that has hyperactivity, ADHD symptoms, guys, cut the food dyes, right? That's a great place to start, and it's not that hard, right? Start with a color and then work your way through building up, okay? It's a gradual change that people can do. It takes a little preparation, but it is something very simple that people can apply to their lives very quickly. So let's look at the Big Red 40, right? The name of this has been changed, and now you can see it on the back of packages called Allura Red. And it is the most used food dye in the United States. Y'all, this is a huge number. 6 million pounds of red food dye get placed in foods every year. That's a huge number. That is a large amount of red dye. 6 million pounds. It is also synthetic based, which means it comes from petroleum. And there have been multiple studies on children that have shown adverse reactions, meaning that they have been negatively impacted by food dyes. And I will say another huge impact that I see as a pet health coach is it also impacts our pets, because red dye 40 is also in pet food and also in treats. Some of the symptoms that we can see, again, are going to mimic red. What is it? Red 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the impact that I see, again, is going to mimic the red 3, because they, again, think about that color spectrum. They're very similar, right? They're both red. They have a similar frequency. And so we're going to be seeing similar things. So we can see hyperactivity. We can see upset stomach, which is going to be, can further into other GI issues. A lot of migraines come from red dye 40. There can also be an inability to focus, aggressive behavior, and then also the big C word, right? Cancer. Cancer has been attributed to red dye 40 as well. And different studies have shown that red dye 40 can dramatically alter brain activity throughout the entire brain. And when not even just the entire brain is impacted, even little parts of the brain, when that is impacted in a negative way, that has a huge impact on the rest of the function of the body. And as a chiropractor, my job is not only to detect and remove subluxations, my job is to make sure that the nervous system and the body are connected, right? That light is turned on, that the body is functioning as one. And when one part of the brain is not firing in a way that it should be, I can tell you that it makes huge impacts throughout the rest of the body. Okay, so let's take a look at the next big food dye, and that's going to be yellow 5 and 6. Keeping the color spectrum in mind, right, and similar frequencies, we are going to see some very similar symptomatology. Again, hyperactivity, we're going to be seeing this again and again. It's kind of a theme, right? Chromosomal damage, that's huge. We also saw that in red 3. Thyroid tumor, kidney and adrenal gland tumors, other cancerous issues throughout the body. So another one that is super huge, especially these days, because it is an increasing issue. And I see this in my office a lot. So many people struggle with this, and that's infertility. And part of the reason that infertility is such a big deal when it comes to the different food dyes is that yellow 5 and 6 can reduce sperm count. And we all know that men carry sperm, right? And we have to have sperm to meet an egg in order for there to be a baby. So eliminating yellow 5 and 6 is huge. And guys and ladies, it's very hard as a child to be thinking like, oh, I shouldn't be having yellow 5 and 6, right? Because you have a childlike mind. But you as parents, you as the adult, you as the leader of your home, the spiritual heads of your body, that too, the spiritual heads of your home, of your family, be making those decisions and be helping to teach your children now, because someday when your child wants to be able to have children and make that decision, whether they want to or not, if they've had yellow 5 and 6 as a child, that's going to impact them into adulthood. And that could be a very huge potential thing for them. So be thinking of things like this. So yellow 5, that is synthetic, and it is also called tartrazine. So that's TARTRAZINE. So tartrazine, that's another name for yellow 5. And yellow 6, also synthetic, is now being called sunset yellow. Again, be paying attention to these different names because they're out there, and when they're not called what we have always heard them be called, they're much easier to be marketed. Okay, so there was a company, I can't remember what company it was, and these probably exist in a lot of different places. So a safety data sheet, they did a safety data sheet on yellow 5 and 6, and on that safety data sheet, it talks about how it is a chemical and that it is not safe for consumption. So why the heck is it in our foods? That's what I want to know. Why is it in our food? Why is it in cosmetics? Why is it in pet food? Why is it being used in clothing, right? And then our skin absorbs it, which is our largest organ, and then it, bypass, all this stuff. Why? Why is that happening? I have a theory on that, and I won't get into that today, but we need to be watching out for these things. So these are chemicals, y'all, and not chemicals that need to be consumed, right? These are not minerals. These are not vitamins. These are chemicals. Chemicals, they come from petroleum, and that's not meant for consumption. All right, blue 1 and 2. Blue 1 is also known as brilliant blue. And I actually, I saw some deodorant a few weeks ago. I was at the grocery store, and I picked up a deodorant. I do this sometimes. So if y'all see me at the grocery store and I'm picking up all these things, just wave. I don't know. Stop and say hi. Whatever. Ignore me. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at ingredients to see what all is in there. And so this deodorant has blue 1 in it. It's listed as the last ingredient. So not the first, which is good, means there's less of it than everything else, but it's still there. And the deodorant is blue. Not the outside, but the actual deodorant is blue. Y'all, and then people are putting that on like one of the most sensitive places where there's tons and tons of lymph, and then that lymph gets bogged down, and then we wonder why we're seeing these, breast cancer, both men and women, right? Lymphatic issues, lymph cancer, right? There's all these kinds of things. So be paying attention, use discernment. So brilliant blue, it can cause skin issues. It can also cause kidney tumors, can cause allergic reactions, of course, GI issues, other organ damage outside of the kidneys. It can also cause cancer, nasal issues, as well as coughing, And then we can also see behavioral issues such as ADD, ADHD. And then blue 2 is being called indigo carmine. Okay, so indigo carmine. And the major symptomatology that we are seeing with the blue 2 is going to be brain tumors. So think blue 2, brain tumors, right? So 2 and 2, that's a good little analogy there for you. Blue 1 and 2 can absorb into the bloodstream very easily, and then that's why it can impact your organs. It can also impact pregnancy. So guys, again, please be watching for these things and use discernment. Green 3 is next up on the list, and it is being relabeled as fast green. And what we're seeing with fast green is bladder issues, allergic reactions, inflammation, respiratory issues, again, GI upset, again, neurological issues, skin issues, nail issues, right? I think you guys are kind of starting to see the pattern here, right? It just really disrupts the system. It changes the physiology. And when physiology is changed, we have a different response of the body. And it's not always necessarily a positive impact. Physiology is made to change just a little bit here and there, right? You get injured, physiology changes. It's not made for this huge onslaught of toxic chemicals and toxic heavy metals and just this inundation of toxic crap into your body all day, every day. So another one that I want to go over, and this is it is a food dye, but it's not really labeled like 1 or 2, right? That is caramel color or caramel color, however you want to say it. And it's the most common coloring used in foods and drinks. It is definitely a potential carcinogen, and there's no limit to its use in foods and drinks as of right now. Okay, so they can put as much of that as they want to in the food or drink. Again, it is a chemical, and chemicals are bad for your body. Okay, I get it. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? I understand that. We're humans. We're going to mess up. We're humans. We're going to make decisions that we shouldn't make. Sometimes we get into a situation where we're not prepared or something, right? I get that. But this like huge onslaught of toxicity into the body day in, day out on a consistent basis has a huge impact on your health. And I see that in my office every single day. And people don't want to live that way, right? That's not a fun way to live. It's not quality of health. So the bottom line is if you want healthy kids, if you want to get your family healthy, removing food dyes is one of the first steps you can take. It is easy. It is a simple way for you to just very simply look at the back of what you're buying. Pick it up. Look it up. Are there food dyes, right? Make yourself a little list on your phone if you can't remember all of the names. Google it. Find an image that you can put on your phone, save it into your notes, save it into your camera roll, right? Whatever, so that when you go grocery shopping, you've got a quick little thing that you can look at and you can cross-check what you're doing. Guys, we offer telehealth at our office, and we have appointments available. We want to help you. We want to help your pets. Give us a call. If you don't live in the area, we have telehealth available. So no matter where you are in the world, we're able to help you. So this not only goes for, our little kid friends, our babies, children, teenagers, but that's also for adults. Moms, dads, if you're not healthy, you can't help your children be healthy. You can't teach them healthy habits. You can't change the, what is the word I'm thinking of?
Energy in your home.
Yeah. You can't change the energy of your home if you're not willing to lead and do it. So step up. Now is the time to step up. The pendulum has begun to swing, right? It is your time to step up and go to battle for your family, for yourself, and for your kids. The other thing that we offer telehealth for is also your pets. I'm a pet health coach. I'm certified to do this. And we've been changing the lives of pets for a very long time. When we can change the life of a pet, we change your life too. And that is huge. Our animals play a huge role in helping our bodies heal. And the healthier we can keep them, the healthier we can keep ourselves. So let's get your pets on track. Let's get your family on track. And let's make America healthy again, right? That's what we're here to do. Make America healthy again, restore the health of the kingdom, and move forward with that, because that is power. And when we can do that, man, we're going to help change the world. So give us a call. We want you to be thriving in your well-being. You can call us at 325-703-6506. That is our human number. Let's get your pets healthy too. That is hugely important. The number to call for that is 325-267-2625. We want you thriving in your well-being. Thank you so much for joining me today, y'all. This was so exciting, and I'm so glad to be bringing this information to you. Please join us. Please comment. Please share this. We can't help restore the kingdom without your help. So make sure you tune in to our next episode. If you have questions for us, we have a form for that. Please make sure that you click the link down below, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Heck, it might even make it on to our next episode. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Dr. B.